about that space. So it is the focus of our works. It is the focus of our team, and so that we are trying to foster it. I would like to say sorry for my English, because my first working language is French. And in the area I'm working, I have very, very few moments to express my English. So please, you can, I have to apologize for that, but I will try my best to make you understand what I want to say, or what I want to share with you this evening. And as I have already said, everyone can put out his questions at the end of that presentation. So the focus, I entitled my presentation, New Bridge Over the Atlantic. Yes, we all know this ocean between Africa and the Caribbean, the Americas. And we know that during the slavery era, we have many boats taking people from coastal areas of Africa, West Africa, cross the Atlantic, and then goes to the Americas at large, from North America to South America, and to those islands in the sea, in the ocean. So crossing, building not a bridge, it is also a metaphor to say that they are gone many centuries ago, but they can be back. Or so the bridge links where the walls separate and make distance. So we have to build new bridge or new bridges over the ocean to bring back our brothers overseas, our brothers in the diaspora, our brothers, because our for all of us, our home is Africa. And Cameroon is at the center of this continent, and we're going to see how the guidelines of my presentation is just to make few remarks on the building of the system before the slave trade, how were this area with the Atlantic system. What are the transformations we face, and few remarks about resistance, abolitions, because as you all know, no one have accepted to be enslaved without fighting, without resisting, without trying to escape. Escape at the period of capture, escape also through all the steps of that horrible system. And before concluding, we can raise some challenging questions. Question to us have Africans, has descendants of Africa, has Black people as a whole in Americas, but also around the world, whether you are in Europe, whether you are in Asia, whether you are in the Americas, has a Black people. How do you feel? How are you? Are you at home? So we can raise some kind of questions before some conclusion remarks. So I want to start with presenting Cameroon. You see the map of Africa. And if you look that yellow part of the continent, you have Cameroon. In that Gulf of Guinea, Cameroon going from the shores of the Atlantic to the interior, to the center of the Africa, to the Lake Chad neighborhoods. So from Cameroon, all the distances are equal. So you have a country, but a country in a strategic geographical location in the continent. But so if you have a military base in Cameroon, you have the same distance to North Africa, to East Africa, to South Africa. It is why many powers struggle and continue struggling to have military bases in Cameroon, because from Cameroon, you can control the whole of Africa. So you see, many people didn't take it into consideration when talking about this country or when talking about Cameroon. Many Cameroonians also didn't aware about that specific geographical location. And if you take Africa as a head, Cameroon is the ear. Cameroon is the ear of the continent. So it is very important to know about it. So Cameroon goes from the ocean in the south, Atlantic Ocean, to the Lake Chad, at the center of Africa. And this geographical location plays a role, very important role in the history of that country and in the history of the continent. You have that geographical location, forest, you have savanna, you have Sahel zone near the Lake Chad. You have also ethnic diversity related to that climatic and physical, geographical differences. You have cultural diversity, Bantus in the south, semi-Bantus in the west, and you have Sudano-Sahelian peoples in the north. So Cameroon presents itself as a summary of all Africa. You have Arabs, you have blacks, Africans, Sudano-Sahelian, you have Bantu and semi-Bantu people in the south. So it is a very particular diversity. And if you visit Cameroon, it is like if you visit the whole Africa, you encounter the whole Africa. This is geographical specification, but it have prolongations in its history. If you want to talk about the history of slavery, we want to focus on slavery today. We have to know, we have to discuss about some definitions to understand ourselves what we are talking about. What is a slave? If we talk about slavery, what is a slave? We have many criteria that can define a slave. The first one is the otherness. If you look about slavery, about the system of slavery, you cannot find people enslaving itself. They go out of the group. They go to the neighbors, to the foreigners. It is foreigners that everyone reduced in slavery, whether in Africa or to the other parts of the world. The difference could be tribal, ethnic. The difference could be color. The difference could be in the culture as a whole. And as you know, the difference of race, black, whites, the blacks and Arabs or yellows. All those differences have played an important role in the process of enslavement of the peoples. The slave can be defined also by the criteria of property. A slave belongs to a master. You cannot find a slave without a master. So the relation, the links of property is very important to define a slave in its status. So how can you have that property? By capture, by purchase, by selling, by inheriting, by gift, and so on. So you have all those criteria. So also, the slave status is hereditary. You can transmit it. It is transmissible from parents to children. What it is the difference between new form of slavery, where you have just exploitation in prostitution, in the traffics, many traffics in persons, but you cannot inherit that stigma. In slavery, the transmission to the descendants is very important. Hereditary. Slavery is hereditary. Slavery is transmissible to descendants. And another specificity of slavery is that you enter by violence, capture, purchase, inheritance, and to go out to slavery, you have to pass through manumission. Escaping alone is not sufficient. Freeing itself by running or going away is not sufficient. It is by the manumission, the affranchisement, that a slave regain some kind of dignity, some kind of liberty. So the system of slavery is a very large system, articulated, areas of capture, areas of detention, means of transport, of selling, ways of exploitation, and the means of liberating. And in the vocabulary of slavery, you have a difference between a free person and a liberated person. The person to whom you give liberty, and the person who is freeborn. So liberation, it is a process dominated by the master. It is the masters who can give liberty, who can free a slave. But whether you are free or not, you cannot consider as a freeborn. It is a difference. So you have actors of the system at any steps. You have techniques of exchange. You have the ways or means of conditioning a slave. When a boat disembarks some slaves, they have to feed them. They have to present them like a product in a market to be sold. And you know all those pictures, all those affiches to inform that we have this number of slaves disembark, and we want people to come to buy them. You have the trade. The trade have the Atlantic slave trade. We have talking about trade. Trade is about means of acquisition, selling, purchasing, giving inheritance. So all the commercial aspect of slavery. And in slavery, you have also, so when you talk about slave trade, you are talking about only one step, one stage of a process, a vast system, that is the system of slavery. So slavery comprises also the slave trade. So when talking about the abolition, there is some confusion. What have been abolished? Is it slave trade or slavery as a whole, the whole system? And in studying some parts of areas concerned by the system, you can find that it is the slave trade which have been abolished. Slavery continues until today in many parts of the world. So what is the situation in that area that concerns us, Cameroon, about slavery? In some books you can find, they are saying that Africans were enslaved in the continent before the trans-Saharan slave trade, before the Atlantic slave trade. Facts are not according to that vision. Facts contradict that vision. In Africa, you can't find markets of slaves, selling of slaves, enslaving peoples at that scale as what we experienced with the transatlantic slave trade. Before the trans-Saharan slave trade, you cannot find any slave market in the whole continent before those exporting slave trades. So if you talk about the case of the Cameroon, on the coast, until the arrival of the Portuguese in the 15th century, you have some fishing peoples like this Sawa, and when you talk about Sawa, you have the Douala, the Izubu, the Bakweri, so many ethnic groups that in that area, migrating because they are not fixed, they are migrating. It is the colonial powers that will come and then fix peoples in the barriers of the frontiers. So you have all those peoples along the coast fishing and along the rivers with clanic structure, so a sort of extended families, with the practice of exogamy, because they didn't take women on the group, they have to go on the neighbor clans to take women, and it solidified links, it establishing peace and widening also the relations between different ethnic groups, between different clans. So limited contact with the peoples of the forest. So if you consider the people of the coastal area, because you have that forest barrier, so they are in the coast, they are fishing, they are doing small farm, but mainly fishing, and they have little contacts with the peoples of the interior till the beginning of this system of capturing and then exporting people. So very limited conflicts also between those peoples. If you take the other part of the country, from Lake Chad to the edge of the forest, you have also fishermen around the Lake Chad and along the rivers, such as Logon, Shari, the Benue, Vina, Mbere also. You have people farming, some farmers, whether you take the Wandalas, the Tulpuri, the Mundan, the Mofu, the Matakam, the Giziga, and also. So you have fishermen, you have farmers, you have also the birth of cities in that northern parts of the country, with the Kotoko cities, that descendants of the Sehou around the Lake Chad. So you have the Muslims with the obus with horse, whom we can see some picture further. You have the Mbum chiefdoms, Mbums who are the ancestors of the Tikars. Those who have founded the Tikars were Mbums at the beginning, and then they migrate to the south to found the Tikar chiefdoms, and later the Bamun and the Bamileke chiefdoms. So in the political organization structure, you have the clans, the lineages. So the practice of exogamy also, and also a rich material culture with the using of fire, the using of ceramics, pottery, and also. So it permits to develop some kind of architecture and handicrafts. So no evidence of slaves or slave markets in the social structure or in oral traditions before the introduction of Islam from the north, because it is Islam that begins in the north, and in the south, the arrival of the Portuguese on the Atlantic coast in 1472 with such a Fernando Po. It is a Portuguese who colonized that island, which became today the Equatorial Guinea, we know, with that part of Bioko, which is former Fernando Po, at the entrance of the Vuri estuary in Cameroon. So before Atlantic trade, before the prolongation of the trans-Saharan routes to the south, we cannot find evidence of slavery or slave markets in all this area comprised between the Lac Chad and the coastal area of Cameroon. So the Atlantic system developed from 1472 in the coastal area. It starts from the proximity. So the Portuguese took some people in the coastal areas to the island where they are settled, and they brought them to Portugal, or later they start to collect and then go to the other islands of the Atlantic and to the Americas. So the system started from the proximity and then grows to become the transatlantic slave trade with big embarkations, crossings, and multiplication of destinations, and also exchange from goods brought from Europe, from the Atlantic ports of Europe, whether in France, in Portugal, in Spain, go to the Great Britain, go to the Holland, and also Netherlands. So it grows first Portuguese and Spanish, second French, Netherlands, Sweden also, and last and the biggest, Great Britain, who become late, okay, who comes later in the system, but what I can say, have done it more in a bigger system than all the others. And également, and also Britain is the power, is the European country who has the best profits of slavery. The sole slaves, they make profit, and also Americas were the colonies of British. So all goods product in those areas go to Britain. It can make you understand why the cities like Oxford, like Liverpool, like Bristol, and so on, became very renowned in the building shaving machines, and so on. You cannot, Britain are not producing cotton in England, but England became a center for the textile production and exploitation. And it is not a hazard that we have the Industrial Revolution in Britain, because it is the country who made the huge profits of slavery, of the whole system. And it is not a hazard when they decide to abolish. Abolition is not a humanitarian decision. It is a very economic decision, because they experience the revolution, the Industrial Revolution, and then they decide to forbid to all other powers to continue the trade. Why? They have to come to buy machines from Britain, and then they make other profits in the system. So the system starts the proximity to the transatlantic, and then we have a construction of a network, a process, which will include all the areas progressively. So at the same time, you have progressive transformation of previous practices and organization of circuits to satisfy the demand, which is expressed from the cost. You have this map of David Eltis, and it shows you with the data collected, and you have it online, slavevoyage.org. You can have it online, and you see, you can have all the documentation about those ships, and this map is drawn about the data David Eltis found in his researches. So you have all destinations. If you take from the coastal area of Cameroon, you can go to the Americas and to the South America also. And you have all those destinations from Mozambique to Rio de Janeiro. Also, you have that work done by Lisa Aubrey. Lisa Aubrey was part of the first group who have done his DNA and who goes to Cameroon with Art James in 2010. And Lisa Aubrey is a scholar from the Arizona University, and went back to the America. She started with her students to identify the ships who embark people from the coast of Bimbia in Cameroon to different destinations. From Grenada, he have 26 ships. Sierra Leone, he have identified 18, Dominica 16, Barbados 16, Jamaica 14, Martinique 6, Saint Vincent 6, Cuba 4, Saint Kitts 4, Antigua 4 ships. But it is a study on the go. It is not the end. It is the first findings of her research. So if you look at a map, the map of that coastal area, you have the first living zone to the Americas from the Cameroon territory is that area of grass fields. The first port of exporting slaves from Cameroon is the port of Calabar, which is now in Nigeria after that colonial partition. It is the biggest port where Cameroonians were exported at this time. You have also that destination to Bimbia, along the Mungo River to Bimbia, also along the Vuri River through Yabasi to the bounds of the Vuri, to Douala now, to island of Manoka, and also along the Sanaga for the Bassa people of this area, not far away from the coast. So the grassfield region have contributed a lot to via Calabar and also via Bimbia and via the Vuri. So you have those zones of capture, you have those areas of embarkment, those stars in red, and you have those itineraries where the follows to go before towards the exit ports. You have some pictures showing Bimbia. Bimbia is the most known area in Cameroon, the most known slave export area, and you have those ruins in that zone. You have that view in the Atlantic shores, who you have some boats who came from the ocean and embarked some people and to go to the Americas. So if to show you a list of some centers in the coastal area of Cameroon, you can have Douala, I have talked about it, Douala, Bonaberi, Manoka. In the southwest, you have Bimbia, you have Nicol Island, Manoa Bay, Bota, Rio del Rey. In the south, you have Campo, Grand Batanga, Kribi, Dizange. And in Nigeria, you have the port of Calabar, who is an integral part of the Cameroon system. You have Equatorial Guinea, which is just 60 kilometers to Douala. You have the island of Sao Tome and Principe. So all those sites are interlinked, are part of the system of transatlantic slave trade in the coastal area of Cameroon. So you have your the localization, and you have the importance, the role they played. Also, you have the Atlantic, but also we have trans-Saharan slave routes who come to that area, to Cameroon, and to some ways linked to transatlantic, because in the middle center of the Cameroon, you have the Benue River. Benue River is an affluent of the Niger. Niger cross the whole Nigeria and go to the Atlantic. So from the Benue, many slaves have been taken and then conducted toward the Niger to the coastal area of Nigeria. So you have interrelation between those two systems in that way. Also, transatlantic slave trade, trans-Saharan slave routes come till the central part of the Cameroon and took many slaves at the beginning of the 19th century with the creation of the Sokoto Empire. Sokoto Empire was the biggest African empire in the 19th century. The biggest Sokoto Empire in the 19th century with 2.5 million people, the Sokoto Empire in the 19th century. And it extends till the northern parts of Cameroon, where you have creations of many other chiefdoms. And if you take the chiefdom of Ngaoundéré, the Lamida of Ngaoundéré, at the half and the end of the 19th century, Ngaoundéré is the biggest contributor in slaves to the Sokoto Empire in the 19th century. You have around 10 to 20,000 people taken in that area to the trans-Saharan routes at this time. We are at the 19th century, around from 1830 to 1901. So, and if you go back to history, we have a renowned slave taken to Russia from the area of Logon Birni in the far north of Cameroon, Abraham Hannibal. It is a prince of Logon Birni, captured in 1703 and taken to Istanbul before to Russia. And he is the great-grandfather of the famous Russian poet Alexander Pushkin. And you have a Beninian national, Dieudonné Nyamankou, who wrote a biography of Abraham Hannibal. So the major turning points in that area was the foundation of that empire of Sokoto. So to give indication of routes and sites, you have from Mubi in Nigeria, Mubi, Kano, you come to the Mandara area of Cameroon, the Bornu, and then you come to the Adamawa. So you have many routes of the north, route of the south, route of southwest, route of the east, route of west. So those routes are crossing the Adamawa region of Cameroon nowadays, and also going from Gaoundéré to Tigné, to Bagno, to Fumban, to Tibati, to Yoko, to Koundé, Bagwa, Berberati, to Nola Karno, Bangui. Bangui is the actual capital of the Central African Republic. So till the Ubangi River, you have the extension southeast of those routes linking to the trans-Saharan slave route. So some words about resistance. All those systems, people have not accepted them, but they are obliged. It is by force, it is the using of violence. Resistance at the period of capture, resistance at the period of enslavement at any step. So struggles, refusal to work, revolts, running away, women and men too are concerned. And in some parts of Adamawa, people escape to go to the defense, in the mountains, in the graves, if you go to the Vute country, you can find some defensive constructions, some sort of walls by woods to protect about the rats. You can find also the holes, I don't know how to call it, but some fortifications. You have some big holes centering the cities, and that cannot be crossed by horses in some cities in the central part of Adamawa, of Cameroon. I have talked about abolition of the slave trade. Yes, because I think what is considered and what you read and the reality is that they abolished the trade, but not the system. The system continue. And nowadays you can find some descendants of slaves, none has such, and with that status. So in the colonial period, you have a sort of repression of the trade, such as the slave trade, but not interdiction or abolition of slavery. So those who are already slaves remain slaves, and colonial powers count on the extension in time of the system, but they have not taken a decision to forbid as a whole someone to say or to be recognized as a slave or owned by another one. So a modus vivendi, so some kind of complicity between Europeans, the colonizers, and the local chiefs, some sort of accommodation with the system, because the chiefs are the only one who can mobilize people, and they start mobilizing in the enslaved people to the for the colonial purpose. And when I am doing some research in the Adamawa, when I asked why this, someone told me that everyone, the white men, says in the office, they quickly forget as soon as they get back home, because all their comfort, the rooms where they live, the food they eat, and all the functioning of their own houses are assured by slaves given by the chiefs. I have talked about some challenging questions. This is part of history. That history gave birth to a wide diaspora. So we have by this system, Cameroonians around the world, I saw to Russia, to China, to Japan, to Americas, to Europe. In Europe, the diaspora started in that period of slavery. It continues at the colonial period. And also today, you know that after independence, African countries became such as the open prisons because of the dictatorship installed there at the service of former colonial powers. The name has changed, but the system remained. The system remained till today. What started at the period of slavery continues today. Africans, Cameroonians continue to produce goods for Europeans, not for themselves. When you produce cocoa, when you produce coffee, when you produce cotton, those goods are for Europeans. In Cameroon, whether you have cocoa in the market or coffee, it is not a matter, no one cares about that. No Cameroonian can feel concerned because there is no cocoa in the market. But for Europeans, it is a problem. The economic system of the most African countries is based till today on those crops for the sake of Europeans. So those countries cannot develop with that system. When how can I answer? You ameliorate your production of cocoa. You have 10 tons this year. Next year, you produce 50 or 100 tons. Those who buy cocoa lower the price. You become poor and poor. Where at the same time, you grow your production. You grow your production, but you became every time poorer and poorer. This is the system. At the period of slavery, who are those taken? The youngest, the more strength. They are not taking children. They are not taking old people. They are taking those who are in the force of age, those capable to cross the Atlantic, but also to be ready to serve in the plantations. They are not taking those who cannot serve them, whether men or women. But it is not only the physical force which is concerned. They are taking those with some experience, because from 20, 30, 40 years, you are at this age, you are the one who give your strength to develop your village. You are the one who can do farm. You can the one who can do fishing. You are the one who can hunt. You are the one who can forge. You are the one who can do pottery. So they have those knowledge. Africans have their industry. Those who are taken have this knowledge, transforming iron to produce weapons for the purpose of hunting, for the purpose of farming. Africa knows it before the coming of Europeans. Those are taken are those forgers. Those who are taken are those with that knowledge and experience, medical knowledge, technical knowledge. Those who are contributing for the advancement and for the life of their society. It is those people who are taken. So it is not only the arms, but you have also the technology, you have also the knowledge which is taken with them. And it is all that the traders, if you can call them traders, trade, I don't think it is the appropriate word. Those who came and take them, they take also all these parts. And you can understand why after that period, Africa is weakened, Africa is down, and Africa could be conquered and colonized again without any resistance. Because all what is the power, constitute the power of Africa was taken at this period. The system continued in the colonial period. Who are brought to study to Europe? They choose the princes because they have in mind, if they come back, it is the next generation who will continue to rule and to serve the European powers. That all those who are taken at this period to go to study, few went back to Africa in the colonial period. And after the colonial period, it is the same thing. They give allowances. They said that those who come to have some diplomas in the system have to come to Europe to study and then come back to Africa to develop their continent. It is the argument, the reason advanced, but the reality is not there. When they come to Europe, they become technicians, doctors, and so on, but they give them post, and the situation, they make the situation worse back at their home to not encourage them to go back. It is the situation. All those who have destroyed Africa till today have the support of those colonial powers because they are at the service of those colonial powers. Those who rule African countries after the independence are those formed by the colonial system to serve the colonial system. Those who were against the system was killed if they have not been integrated to the system. If you are reluctant to integrate the system, to serve the system, the colonial powers, you are in jail or you are killed totally. You have the case of Lumumba, you have the case of Umyobe in Cameroon. In Cameroon, all those who fought for the independence have been liquidated, have been killed. Independence was given to those who never fought for independence. And the situation made whom so that every Cameroonian dream to go abroad, to go to Europe, to go to America. And the situation have not changed. It is what we experience today. If I travel to France, when I come back, many persons ask me, why are you coming back to that prison, to that hell? Stay there. And everyone struggling to escape to that prison. A prison constructed voluntarily by those governing leaders who have served the slavery system, who have served the colonial system, who are continuing to serve the system like it exists today. So why those countries like Japan, like China, like India are developed? Ask yourself this question. It is because of their diaspora. Japan is from the Meiji era. From the Meiji era, they have sent Japanese to Europe, to different European powers, countries. They ask each Japanese sent there to take the best he can find in France, the best they can find in England, the best they can find in America, and brought it back to Japan. And they use those knowledge to develop Japan. You have that huge transfer of knowledge from Western countries to Japan. And from the president of Japan, Western countries have decided that never again we could accept that a foreign country, a color people, come study in our areas, and we allow them to go back with our knowledge, with our technology, with our experience, to challenge our economy, to challenge our powers. Japan became a power, and Japan challenged Western countries in many sectors. Now you have China. China follow the same system, the same case. China took with its diaspora the best of the Western and addition to its culture, to its traditional culture and know-how. And then today, China is the factory of the world. You have the case in India. Indian diaspora today is research around the world in in many domains. Indians transfer their knowledge. Indians transfer their diaspora to go to develop their country. It is what they are doing. And if you encounter a Chinese in Europe or in America, you encounter an Indian in those countries, they are very proud of their culture. They are very proud of their country. And they affirm it, they present it to others. And all what they can do or can transfer, if they have to go back to teach in their universities, in the technical centers, to give this know-how, they are doing it. So Africa, face of all this, we have the first diaspora of from slavery, those who are taken from slavery, dispersed from Brazil to Canada, all in all those islands. They are occupying many positions. We have those who went after during the colonial period or very recent decades. They are thousands and thousands. If you take the case, or if you take only the case of France, you have a bigger number of Cameroonian doctors around Paris and in Paris, like in the whole Cameroon. Cameroonian doctors, medical doctors, and you can multiply in many domains. So Cameroon formed doctors, they leave Cameroon to go to America. They leave Cameroon to go to all other countries. At the universities, it is the same. Every year, we have many colleagues who are leaving to go to integrate research centers abroad, to go to integrate universities abroad, or for certain persons to the lowest position they occupy in their country. Those who went to study abroad, how many of them come back, go back to Africa, to Cameroon, or to all other African countries? That is the question. So today, it is the result of all what I have said, which present the image of Africa we had. When we talk about Africa, the first idea is poverty, is hunger, is disease, conflicts, wars, refugees, corruption, dictatorship. We are all responsible of that. The others use their diaspora to resolve all those problems. What Africans are doing, African diaspora, what the African descent are doing, what whom they have better than Africa. So forces have been taken off, and it is continuing. It has not stopped. Resources are taken off year after year. Cocoa, we export cocoa in Africa without transforming. We export coffee without transforming, cotton without transforming. Our petrol, we export it without transforming. or every good you export without transforming, you export your wealth, you export your jobs. If I travel through France, this city of Nantes, where I am here now, every big shop, you have various kind of cakes with cocoa, with our cocoa. Coffee, you drink it all the day. It creates jobs here. All those jobs that are lost from Africa, lost by African countries. So we export goods, means we export our forces, we export our resources, we export our development, we export our wealth. So those jobs taken is by those raw materials we are continuing to export. Until now, until which year? So only what in that system where we were engaged from the slavery period to now, we are developing poverty. Africa cannot develop if we cannot inverse that process. In economics, they said you have to reduce the distance between raw materials and factories. But for Africa, we go against all the economic laws. The raw materials are produced in Africa. The factories are in Europe, are in Western countries. That is the situation. So if you take the map of Africa, Africa is the biggest continent. Africa is bigger than China. Africa is bigger than India. Africa is bigger than USA. You can put all together, Europe, India, China, USA, in the map of Africa, in that 30 million square kilometer. All those countries, you can have them inside Africa. But if you see the maps we are using, you see a small Africa at the middle. You have Europe on top, and you have America and Asia in the sides. And in your view, in your imaginary, Africa is very small. And it can explain the domination the others have on Africa. So it is a constructed idea in the mind. So we have to change our mind. We have to change our regard of our continent. And then we can consider ourselves, and with that consideration we have to ourselves, to our continent, and then we can do all what is needed to its development. So Africa have all the resources. Today you have those summits: China, Africa, India, Africa, Turkey, Africa, USA, Africa, French, Africa. So every power, every country who want to show his powerness, want to develop the only part of the world where everyone goes or regards to take resources is Africa. Because we have the resources of the soil, we have resources or mineral resources, all kinds of resources. We have them. So the problem is to link knowledge and those resources, because it is knowledge that produces techniques that can transform those resources to develop our countries and to make wealth. So the continent of the future, whether they like it or not, is Africa. The continent of the future is Africa. It is the only continent who is growing faster in its population. The only continent who we have all those resources needed for the future. So Africans, peoples of African descent have to be aware of that, have to understand that, and then decide to act according to that. The responsibility of the diaspora is based of many elements we can evoke. How do you feel as African, where you live, where you are? I think there is no continent where a Black descendant or a Black can feel at home like in Africa. In Europe, you face racism, discrimination. Whether you have the nationality, whether you have the competence, you have all techniques and diplomas. At the time to find a job, you face differences. If you get that job in your everyday life at any time, they make you understand that you are not where you are supposed to be. You are not in your place. You are born in America, you are Black, they consider that you are not Americans. Or you cannot have the same position, the same consideration as a white, whether he came from Europe, from Ireland, from Britain. You are born there. Your ancestors are born there, but you are never considered as a part of where you live. You are not a part of the system. So every time the matter of discrimination you face is the racism and so on. When you talk about color, I used to ask, is white a color? Because for whites, the only color is black. The only color is others. White is not considered as a color. So it is constructed. Color people. And in the United States, you have the one drop rule. If you have one drop of black blood, you are considered as a black. You have the situation of Barack Obama. All his mother's family is American, is white, but he is considered as a black. And you see Trump struggling to question his birth certificate. He is American. He is born American. His grandfathers are American and white, but he is not considered American. What's the situation for those who are blacks and that their parents remains in Africa or came from Africa? You see the situation. As a black, when I come to France, I'm not different from a black French native from Guyana, from Jamaica. They consider me black as the same. We face the same racism in the supermarket. If they have to, if you are black near a white, they serve the white before you. They make you know it. I face it here is Nantes, in a supermarket. A young guy, for him, it is making me a very big honor to give my to help me put all what I have bought in the supermarket in the bag. I ask him why he does it for all those who pass before me. When I come there, no, you have to do it yourself. I am not obliged to do it for you. I ask him, what problem do you have with me? You see? So we face it. whether you who are installed there, whether those who are born there, whether those who come there, you face the same problems. You will never be at home out of Africa, is what I have understood. But the fathers of Pan-Africanism have understood it before us. The struggle to liberate Africa comes from the diaspora. When you talk about Marcus Garvey, when you talk about all those who are the fathers of that movement of Pan-Africanism, Pan-Africanism is not born in Africa. It is from the islands. It is from the diaspora, from the peoples of African descent in the diaspora. They form the idea that where they live, they are not at home. They have to fight to liberate Africa for all African descent people, to constitute the United States of Africa, and then install a democratic system where all Black peoples of the world can feel at home. It is the project of Pan-Africanism. Those who liberate or proclaim the independence of those small territories constituted our countries now, they are taking in the proclamation of independence as a whole, as the end. What is false? It is a step. They have to liberate every part of territory and then make it together, like that non-divided Africa, to form the United Africa before the partition, colonial partition, and then make a home, make safe home for all people of African descent. And if you look at the chart of African Union, the diaspora is considered as a region of Africa. It is part of the chart of African Union, and it exists from the Organization of African Unity. It is written. So the project is not finished. It is only underway. Liberation, independence is a step towards the creation of the United States of Africa. That is the goal. Make a safe home for all people of African descent. So you are part of Africa. You have the responsibility of rebuilding the links. It is why I talk about the bridges. We have to rebuild the links from both sides, from where the Pan-Africanists have let it. We have to continue the struggle. The only way is to back to Africa, to back to the motherland. The only way is to change the course of the events. And it is by that or by this that you can make history. Leaving his wealth abroad, leaving just for his life, you are not making history. You can do it for yourself, you can do it for your family, but it is not a lot. We have a very important goal, a very, very important goal. And if you want to make history, it is to reconnect. Reconnect Africa to its diaspora. Reconnect all people of African descent to Africa. Make them feel responsible of Africa, of all what needed to be done in Africa. If there is dictators in Africa, it is also our responsibility. If there is nothing, if Africa is, there is poor and so on diseases, it is also our responsibility. We have to contribute. We have to go back to help to resolve those problems. So, why the return movement? First, to concretize the Pan-Africanist ideal of rebuilding that this modern Africa. The case for identity and origins. If I am Americans, I know that my forefathers come from Africa. Where from Africa? So the reconnection, the DNA, it is in that quest for identity. Your identity is African. The names you borrow, they are not your names. They are just the names given to you or to your ancestors by the slavers. All those names are not your names. But what we have most important than our name. If you have a baby, the first thing you think to give him is the name. How am I going to call him? You look for a name for him and you choose the best name you can find for him. So the name is the first part of your dignity. The name is the first part of a personality. The name is the first part of our identity. So tracing DNA make us look for that identity, look for our origins. The origins of our forefathers. It is our origin. So it is more than a touristic voyage, more than a hobby, but it is a question of identity. It is a question of dignity, because name, origin, identity are what make us what we are, who we are. And it is what we can transmit to our descendants too, that identity. The quest for human dignity, yes, when they took a slave, it is when he arrived, the master decided to give him any name he wants. And if you study the names given to slaves, it is very problematic. What kind of name? What is their signification? What do they represent to them? So it's very, very question. Though some took their own name, the name of slaver, gave to his slave, to enslave him too. It is not his name. So to reconnect with the origin and the African heritage, it is one of the reasons to rediscover certain African cultural elements. We know that what makes us different, what is our identity is our culture. If I cannot borrow the identity of my neighbor, of the other, it is not mine. I cannot be, whether I speak English or French, like a Britain born or French national, I cannot be French. I cannot be Britain. I cannot be American. What makes me different, what makes me what I am, is my culture. It makes me, give me my dignity, my difference, but it is what I present to others. And many times with people, they ask you, how can you spell or call this thing in your language? They know I speak French, they speak French, but they ask me the name in my language. So for them, French, they know it is not me. It is not part of me. It is just something I borrow to the colonial master. And I was, it is a sort of burden I was obliged to hide in my head all my life, just to communicate with others. And with the colonization, it became a necessity. Also in the same house with my brother, I have to use French, I have to use English to talk to him. With my children, with my daughters, I have to use the language of others to talk to them. What a problem, what a pity for us, for Africa, for our culture, for our dignity. I cannot talk to my son or to my brother when I have a stranger because I lost my identity, I lost my language. What makes me what I am, what I can share with others, what I can enrich others, I lost it. You see, because of this, because of all those influences, colonial and religious also, to all those. So it makes me feel insecure psychologically, physically, and so on. We have nationalities, we have rights, but we are insecure psychologically. The way of others, the consideration they have with us, we are not feeling secure in those countries. So to discover certain African cultural elements is very important. It is important for expression of our pride, or being Black, or being Africans. So I finished by those pictures of one of the diaspora who come back after tracing his DNA. Lilian Thuram, a very known footballer in France from the islands, he come back to Cameroon after tracing his DNA in last January, and he was received in his community of origin in Douala, and they give him titles and enoblish him and receive very, very, very warmly. You see how what is shown is the pictures. And the mayor of Douala also received him and give him of a diploma of citizenship of the Douala city. So all those who want to come back, I think they will experience that, and anytime they will feel at home, and the better, I think, from where they are. So to conclude, I have taken many times. I know that many of you have many other appointments. So the slave trade marked a major turning point in the evolution of the African continent and its societies. It is a very, very turning point. Many habits we face today are acquired at that period. Consumption, education, behavior, many, whether in our nowadays living or in our behavior, our psychological mind also. So the period of slavery marked also the militarization of our societies. What justify imperialism, occupation of African soil, colonization. Colonizers said they come to stop fightings between tribes. Who made those tribe fighting? They didn't say it. Predation. So taking from Africa without giving nothing to Africa. Domination, extraversion, exchanges before colonization, before that era was centered at the center. The Sahara Desert was a very big highway of trade till the colonization. With the arrival of the Europeans, all the interior was abandoned for the coastal areas. Today, when you take the map of Africa, all the biggest cities in Africa are in the coastal areas. The main routes are in the coastal areas. The airports, the railway stations. And when you leave the coastal area to the interior, all that disappear. You can no longer have good routes. You can no longer have railways. You can no longer have planes and so on, airports. So all is done to take from the interior of the continent to the coastal areas, to Europe, or to the other parts of the world. So nothing for the interior, nothing to rest and to develop the Africa. So dependence of Africa, the problems of cultures, domination, impoverishment, all those problems are linked. The foundation from that period of slavery. So will the growing interest in Afro-descendants in recent years through DNA testing build a new bridge across the Atlantic? Because I'm talking to Americans, but it is across the Indian Ocean too, the Mediterranean Ocean, the Red Sea. It is all around the Africa and from the other parts of the Africa. So many bridges have to be established, to be built, to back this African diaspora. And it is at this condition, I think it is the only which can permit to Africa to represent what it represents to the world, to the humanity from the beginning. We all know that Africa is the mother of humanity. All human beings comes from Africa. All from the beginning. So responsibility is on us, all of us, all Black people. And we have to make history. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience.
Well, thank you, Professor. Honestly, that was amazing. You know, everything I just learned there, you know, it just here. So I don't know if anyone got more question, but we would love to close the meeting. And then if anyone got more question, you know, Professor, I've sent his Instabio link on the chat so you can contact him. And then he's also he sent me a book today. It's a really, really good thing about everything he spoke about. So we're looking to actually translate that in English so we can. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, you send it to me. I'm going to take my time to read that book. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So anyone got anything to add? So we got probably about 5 minutes before we can close everything. I'm just going to say thanks to Stephanie. She's been watching the show from the start. And then she said, thanks, Professor, to explain and make a difference between slave trade. Just go back on the question again. So she's been watching the show from the first minute. She's on Facebook. So she said, thanks for the difference between slavery and slave trade. So she's saying to Professor.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you to all of you, and very interesting. And I'm ready. I am available. So don't hesitate to contact me for discussion. And in Facebook, if you look for my name, you can find my page. So we can continue, and you can contact Moncam also to have all. WhatsApp and so on. So feel free to contact me at any time. So no problem. So I'm very, very, very happy to meet you today, and I'm ready for a next session or another session. So I am part of the family. So feel free to contact me at any time. Thank you very much.
Are you sure that because we're gonna contact you for the next session? Because I mean we gain a lot of knowledge. I mean me myself.
Me too.
I get a lot of knowledge, and again, I'm happy, you know, Brother Monte, to be here all the time to support the movement, and Brother Elon, you know what, you're just so amazing, and Sister Aventi, she's always been there from day one, you know, she's never missed one day. So thanks a lot for the support, and then that's how you can grow. Brother Mwamba, I know you're still there, so thanks a lot all the way from Scotland, you know, and then. You here with us, and we got Brother is it Lawrence? Thanks very much. Justin, you know, it was glad to. I don't know how I actually contact you. It was through your Facebook. You know, I was looking for a video, Cameroon video, because I normally check Cameroon video every day to see what's a new video, what they're talking about. So I end up on your video. I was like, that's actually good. You know, the way you present your video, and then I contact you directly. So that's how we reconnect, and there you are. So honestly,
how to say thank you in Fulfulde?
Usoko.
Usoko. Voila. Yes. I love that language. I used to, when I was in Cameroon, I had a good friend, very good friend from your tribe. Yeah. Okay. But then I forget everything. I just know Jamna. And I know there's another one. I forgot everything, man. But it's a beautiful language, man. Yeah. Osoko.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So Fulfulde is Fulani, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Fulani.
So that's a very massive tribe. You know, you go all the way from Cameroon, Nigeria,
15 countries in Africa.
Guinea.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what? Up until this point, I thought Osoko was Tikar for thank you, but I know the Tikars use a lot of Fulani words in their language.
Fulani words. That's true.
So I thought Osoko was Tikar for thank you, but now I see that it's Fulani.
Yeah.
When Tikar say that they're fine, they say Jam, and I know that's Fulani as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
See, when we go in our languages, man, we start seeing these connections, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add Professor in our Reconnected group.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna add him because obviously, if we got a question anytime, you can just put your question through.
Thank you.
And then it's gonna be. And again, I'm looking at to actually extend the group to more like a Cameroon Reconnect. I don't know what you guys think about it. Let me know. You know, to kind of like remove the trap thing and everything, just put it as a Cameroon Reconnection and anything like that. So we talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Thank you guys, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks again. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. All have a blessed day. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We're proud of who we are, nigga. We're proud of who we are. That is who we are. That's so important to have.
We're proud of who we are. We're proud of who we are.
Point of correction.